Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, first we have to apologize. Nick wasn't able to make it today. Stabby has assured me that he did not die, but he's out chasing the Selkies in the harbor. Apparently he's going to catch them and find out if they taste like steak or something. I don't know. What do you do with Selkies anyway?
You steal their skin so they stay on land.
Yeah.
Man, I got that one all mixed up. All right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At least I knew they involved water. That's like progress. Mm-hmm. You guys have corrupted me with all this fantasy nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is that. There's a whole magic thing there. Selkies is another episode.
You know what? Write that down to the proverbial list. It's like 14 pages now. All right. So,
got it.
Woo!
Before we get started, though, we have to let our guests introduce themselves to our listeners and viewers at home in case you don't know who these fine folks are. We have Mr. James JE Pittman.
Hey everybody, J.E. Pittman here. I write the Felix Chance series of books. I used to call them urban fantasy, more contemporary fantasy. I don't know what the heck they are. You read them and figure out and tell me what they are. I also write the Pandora Squad action sci-fi series and a bunch of other nonsense. So, hey, glad to be here talking about Princess Bride, one of the few perfect films in existence.
Okay, bold statement. We'll see if everyone agrees later on. But next we have Miss Jana S Brown, who sometimes cosplays as Jena Rey or other unmentionables.
Always unmentionables. I'm Jana S Brown, but I write under the pen name Jena Rey, and I write the weird and the wonderful with smoochies. So we get some science fiction, some fantasy, some urban fantasy, and generally a little bit of romance in there because we love those things. And that works perfect for what we're talking about today because it's action, adventure, pirates, romance, true love. Please move on because I got to get back to this.
And smoochies.
And smoochies.
And Stabby does love them smoochy books.
One of the 7 perfect kisses.
Book?
It's a big kissing book.
So one of the most perfect movies in the 7 perfect kisses. Got it. That's a bold statement. All right, next we have Miss Melissa McShane of Warhammer fame.
Yes, that's right. I'm Melissa McShane. I have written many different fantasy novels in many different subgenres, including contemporary fantasy and historical fantasy. I'm currently working on the War Master Lit RPG series. Thank you, JR. And I'm coming to you from India, where it is morning, and it looks like it's going to be a hazy day, which is not good for me because we are drying laundry outside today.
Uh-oh.
So, oh well.
All right. Michael LaVoice was going to make it today, but apparently his internet hates him. So next we have Miss Teri Jobe, the many voices thereof.
Oh, yes. Oh, I guess I should have prepared some from the Princess Bride. That's okay. Inconceivable. Teri K. Jobe, audiobook narrator, baby writer. Got a couple short stories out there in the wild. Go, find them, search. I promise they're not in the swamp of bad things. They're not being guarded by ROUSs.
There you go.
I mean, define bad, because, I mean, that's kind of subjective.
Touche. Use your imagination.
Oh.
It's fire swamp.
Right.
I just watched this last night for research. What the? I'm blonde. I'm blonde. That's all I got.
Were Sicilians involved?
Only if death is on the line.
Maybe they should have been.
Death is online. All right. And with that, we do have to dive into the religion questions first. So, legend, labyrinth, or stardust? Stabby, I'm going to go with you first.
Labyrinth.
Excellent choice.
Covers all.
Pittman.
You can't beat the labyrinth. That's it. Period.
Yeah, I'm with Stabby. Definitely Labyrinth.
Okay, Teri.
Oh, Labyrinth for sure. David Bowie's hot in that. Whew.
He does nothing for me. It's strange how that works. All right, Melissa.
You're lost.
Oh, Labyrinth, yeah. No question.
All right, Jana, you going to buck the trend?
I am not in that particular group. I do like Legend. I think it's a fascinating Tim Curry role.
How about Tim Curry? Yes.
And there's some interesting things there. But when you compare the two, Labyrinth is better storytelling, and it's Jim Henson and the Not Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Legend. I just dug that movie better. Bowie did nothing for me. The annoying sibling thing did nothing for me. I had that in real life. I did not need that on the big screen, so it was Legend all the way. All right, and because we are polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, Robin Hood, Men in Tights, Ella Enchanted, or Willow? Madam Stabby Stab.
Because we're men. Manly men. We're men in tights.
Excellent choice. Pittman.
I'm gonna have to not go with my boy Carrie, and I will go with Willow just because that was the first time I ever saw a person transform into a tiger or any other really cool like CG effects, and it was just like, wow, we can do some cool stuff now, and it doesn't look cheesy. I thought in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, such an innocent time, the 80s.
Yeah, it's bad when the CG from the 80s trumps some more modern stuff. I won't name names, but that was.
We weren't innocent. There was just no proof.
This is true. We were smart enough not to film our criminal endeavors. Now they put it on YouTube. Although I will say the cops these days probably are very thankful that people make their job very easy.
Oh yeah,
probably.
They used to be gumshoes because
crime happens. A crime happens. The first thing they do is search YouTube for it, or TikTok, or
and Ring doorbells. I mean, there's so many cameras everywhere that
Big Brother is watching. So they used to call the detectives gumshoes because they walked everywhere and you might step in gum. Now I guess they call them carpal tunnel because it all starts on a computer.
It's true to that.
All right, Teri. Robin Hood, Men in Tights, Ella Enchanted, or Willow?
Willow was good, and I did very much enjoy the book Ella Enchanted. Gotta go with Men in Tights, though.
Excellent. Call the locksmith.
All right, I'm going to go with Ella Enchanted because it was so different from the book. It has practically nothing to do with the book except the fundamental plot. But they really took it and ran with it, and it is cheesy, and I love that. I mean, this is a hard choice because all three of them are movies I really love. But I'm going to go with Ella Enchanted.
You did have to love in Ella Enchanted when they told her to do something, how she had perfect posture all of a sudden.
Yes, just upright. That's how you knew. That's how you knew that she was under that spell. Yeah.
All right, Jana.
Oh, see, this is a hard one, but I think I'm going to go with Willow. That's one that I remember seeing in the theaters because my grandma took my sister and I there for the summer, and during the summer, and my sister had to go to the restroom, and of course she had to drag me with her, and I was really mad about it because now I missed a snippet, and also we got out and we couldn't remember which theater it was, so we're wandering around sticking our heads into theaters trying to figure out where we were supposed to be, and so there's a memory that sticks there, along with Stolen Babies.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for me, it's going to be Robin Hood, Men in Tights. The scene where he meets his blind butler, Castilian, or whatever you call the guy, and he goes, "Oh, Robin, you lost your arms in the war, and you grew a nice set of boobs," because he was feeling up the statue.
Yep.
And then you can't miss the Braille Playboy, such a quintessential 1980s thing. Although I think Men in Tights was actually made in the 90s, but like the aesthetic, the humor. Call the locksmith. They repossess the castle. I mean,
yeah,
Mel
it's
Brooks.
a child of the 80s.
It was hysterical. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's just I enjoy a good movie where you can laugh. World's serious enough. So, all right, and this is going to be more broad brush. Anything from the 80s. But what is your favorite 1980s movie, Stabby?
The Panic.
Must pick just one.
Okay, there's two that fight for the top place. Even though I haven't been feeling well, and I joined you for this one because this is The Princess Bride is one of my favorite books, my favorite movies. Like, it holds a special place in my heart. I do not go anywhere without that book in my purse. But the Goonies,
Ooh, yes.
it's
Yeah.
right there. And so I can't choose between those two. So I have to say it's both. They both take first place for me.
Okay, I can dig it. All right, Pittman.
It may be a cusp film, but Ninja Turtles, the first one.
Oh,
Okay.
there we go.
Definitely watched that one till the tape wore out. Bought another, wore that tape out. Turtle power all the way.
Okay, Teri.
Gonna have to go with The Last Unicorn. I was probably too young when I watched that for the first time, and just the animation style was interesting to me. The story was interesting to me, and it was one of the group of movies that I probably shouldn't have watched at such a young age that didn't freak me out. So I still watch that one and love it today.
Okay, Melissa.
Well, The Princess Bride is actually my favorite 1980s movie, but since we're going to be talking about that, I'm going to go to my second favorite, which is Better Off Dead. And I rewatch that frequently. It makes me happy. It's a lot of fun. So that's my 1980s movie.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, you must see it.
Oh,
it is so
it's
fun.
very good.
It's really funny, really surreal in some ways, but I can't even describe it because what it's about is nothing to all the different details that are going on in the movie. So you have to watch it to see.
All right, it's a ringing endorsement, Jana.
See, it's really hard because there's so many, and every time somebody else says one, I'm like, oh, and that one, oh, and that one too, and that other one, and so because it hasn't been mentioned yet, not necessarily because it's my favorite, I will toss Lady Hawk into the mix. I enjoyed the heck out of that. Matthew Broderick had a real run in the 80s with a bunch of stuff that was really pretty good because I liked him in War Games. I liked him in Project X. I liked him in Lady Hawk. He did a whole bunch of things, but I do love the mythos with Lady Hawk. So I will toss that one out there and add it to the mix.
Lady
Nick
Hawk
would
was
have
the
agreed
one.
with you on that one. Nick would have been on board with that one with you. He loves that movie, but he would also throw in the honorable mention of The Lost Boys.
Oh, that's another good one. Yeah.
So Lady Hawk was the one where you had the guy who was trained to throw the knives and miss for the carnival, and he has to use them for real, right? That was that movie?
No.
No.
Lady Hawk
It's the Eclipse movie where the lovers that can never be together because he's a wolf at night and she's a woman, and during the day she's a hawk and he's a man, and so to break the curse they have to find a time when they can both be together, and so it all ties into the eclipse and a monk and Rutger Hauer on a huge horse and pretty all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, it's a string of movies that are very similar in theme. So the Rambo, Commando, and Missing in Action, those cheesy 1980s action movies, I dig all of them. Many a day I faked being sick. Sorry, Mom. So I could stay home and watch those on HBO, where we had, stuck our blank tape in there and we filmed them when they came on, and then you watched them until you couldn't watch them anymore, and you had to wait for them to come back on so you could re-record them with a fresh tape. I will tell you, having learned this from personal experience, if you watch all of the Rambo movies back to back, the scars on his back move around. They don't want to stay in one place. Why be
continuity?
Continuity was not there, but also the Goonies, and that one I have watched with my kids, and I remember when they were like 13, I watched that with them, and they're like, "Dad, where are all the parents?" I'm like, "I know, isn't it great?"
Yeah.
And of course, the Goonies gave us the Truffle Shuffle and Goonies Never Die. And the guy that did the Truffle Shuffle got so sick of being the joke about being the fat kid that the dude got swole, and now he's a physical trainer and he does like motivational weight loss. Dude's like an inspiration to every fat kid that ever grew up and said, I can do better. So I love that story about him, just particular. So the Goonies is an excellent choice also. All right. Finally, coffee or tea, and how do you take it when you're sick? Stabby.
When I'm sick, I take tea with lemon, honey, and whiskey in it. A hot toddy.
Okay. James.
Tea, depending on what kind of sickness it is, hot or cold. If it's hot, if it's like a sore throat with lemon, if it's just irritant, iced tea in copious quantities of it.
Okay. Teri.
Well, I am just starting to discover tea, so until I get that figured out, I'm gonna go with hot chocolate and be different.
Excellent
That's
choice.
just a nice,
Excellent choice.
thicker drink, a comfort drink.
That works. Melissa.
Okay, when I'm sick, I like peppermint tea. It's nice and cleansing, clears the sinuses.
Absolutely.
So,
Jana.
there you go.
I like lemon ginger tea, but I'm also one of those kids that grew up with Sprite and saltine crackers because
Yeah.
that was the thing that was to fix all things, especially if you had stomach-based anything.
Yep.
Is you drink Sprite and you eat saltine crackers, and sometimes you get those little pink peppermint things, wintergreens, and you just suck them down. And so for my sick, that would be, the trifecta, and then you would end up having chicken noodle soup on the side.
So for us, it was not Sprite, it was ginger ale.
Ginger ale for me.
Yeah,
Waiting
but
for somebody
also
to say that it was ginger ale.
the salt, the brat diet, obviously, but I don't think we called it that back then.
No.
It was just, soup and bread and water, essentially.
Yeah.
So for me, I always go to peppermint tea with local honey in it, and a lot of local honey. Like I'll make the water and the honey so it almost looks tea already before I throw the tea bag in. But local honey is really good for you because it has the things that help you with your allergies. Somebody explained it to me once. I don't understand all of it. I have seen papers that theorize that one of the reasons the Vikings were so much healthier than the people in England when they raided was because all the honey in their diet made them more resistant to illness.
Yep.
So
Okay.
so it wasn't that of course they're giants because they beat us. It was like they were legitimately taller. They articulate or they give credit to some of that from the honey. I don't know how true that is. I don't know that we'll ever know some of those questions, but it's good enough for the Vikings. It's good enough for me.
They were also cleaner.
They were.
Yeah.
That's true. They were.
Yeah.
They were very clean.
That's how they
Very
stole other people's women because they washed more regularly, so they smelled
They didn't
good.
smell bad.
They didn't stink.
And,
Yep.
and if you watch the Vikings TV show, apparently they don't wear bad biker outfits and eyeliner. That's not how they really dressed.
Aw, dang it.
Oh,
I met a historian that does Viking impersonations, and he spent 20 minutes trying to convince these ladies that that's not how Vikings really dressed because she was convinced. And, he's like, no, they wanted to be seen, so they wore bright colors that were clean, and like he's going on and on. Like, you want them to find you on a battlefield. It was very Hellenistic in that respect. So they wouldn't be wearing anything that blends in that much. But anyway, all right.
But it was on the History Channel.
And the History Channel was never on. One thing I did learn is when you don't understand something, it was always aliens.
okay.
That's true.
Well, yeah.
So pyramids, aliens,
Yes.
or ice road truckers are involved, or ghosts, because that's about all the History Channel does anymore.
Don't forget the gold diggers.
Tis sad, but
That's
true.
right. Although at least the ice road trucker stuff is kind of cool. I'm not that crazy though. I mean, I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy.
Okay.
So we've got
Good.
that established. Would you do that, James? Would you try the ice road trucking thing?
Oh no.
Hope it doesn't-
Oh no.
Right up there with Deadliest Catch.
Yeah.
No.
There are certain things that are fun to watch, but not a lifestyle I'd want.
Nope.
All right. So normally I would not air the commercial this early, but I want to get into the meat of the movie, and I don't want to interrupt with a commercial. So we're going to play that beautiful bean footage, and then we're going to talk about the show that brought us here.
35 awesome stories started by one kick-ass meme. It started as a joke. Storm Area 51, they said. They can't stop all of us, they said. But all laughter has stopped when the U.S. Air Force mobilized and pulled out the big guns. However, relentless mockery and derision by the media and the powers that be pushed the dweebs and alien enthusiasts too far. What else were they supposed to do? They said why not and showed up, determined to find out what secrets were hidden behind the walls of the clandestine government facility. Are you brave enough to buy this anthology today? If you are, find out what the government wants to keep hidden. Read Storming Area 51, a Bayonet Books anthology.
All right, thank you for sticking with us to that commercial interlude. Now, the show that brought us here, or movie, I guess, not really a show. So we are here to talk about The Princess Bride. It was directed by Rob Reiner for a budget cost of $16 million, which earned $30.9 million in 1987 money. It is 98 minutes long. It released on September 25th, 1987 by 20th Century Fox in the U.S. and Inter-Access Film Distribution for international sales. And then the ad copy, a bedridden boy's grandfather read him a story of a farm boy turned pirate who encounters numerous obstacles, enemies, and allies in his quest to be reunited with his one true love. All right, does that ad copy work for everybody?
Sure.
No, but that's okay.
No.
No. Go on. Let's discuss.
What could work for the movie? I mean, it was not a theatrical success. I mean,
Right.
Okay. Did anyone here see it in the theater on its original run?
No, I was
Because
sick.
I did not. I
I was
saw it
about
on
4
video.
months old.
Okay, you don't count. I mean, you do count, but
You're too young.
Yeah,
Not
you're
for that.
So
yeah, not for
the,
that.
the great thing with Princess Bride, it was one of the first that was actually licensed to use the VCR. So it was
Right.
released on VHS. And it was moderately priced enough that parents could get it and put it in for their sick children to keep them quiet on sick days and just play on repeat.
Mhm.
So it got a
Sure.
lot of exposure that way. It was one of the first word of mouth, grassroots. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, you need to get this. You need to get this for your kids. You need to watch this
Yeah.
together as a family.
Yeah.
And it
It's
very
easy to
quickly
do.
picked up replays in theater. So I did see it in the theater for the first time, but it was not on its original run. It
No.
was about 5 years later when I went to college, and they had the really, really dirt cheap college theater.
Yep.
And because, we're all students, we're all broke all the time. And certain Friday nights, it would be like, it was either $1 or $3. It was something majorly cheap, and they would rerun movies like Lady Hawk and movies like The Princess Bride and that kind of thing. And everybody would turn out to this dorky little theater because it was a cheap date. And it got to the point that with this, you had people showing up in costume, you had people quoting the movie as it went, and it became a phenomenon for the students there. It was that and Lady Hawk and a couple of others that they would play over and over again, and we'd all show up in costume and quote the movie as we went. So it really was that underground cult classic, but I didn't see it until 5-6 years later.
So I just did
And
some.
you're-
I did some quick math with the interwebs, and it earned a profit of $30.9 million, which is apparently worth, if the calculator is right, $8 billion in modern money.
Mhm. Yeah, but it was considered a failure. It was not considered a success theatrically,
No.
and some of it was because they didn't market it very well, and so complaining about the pitch there, that's because nobody knew how to market it, and it wasn't until you got into the theater and saw it. What Jana is not telling you is that cheapy little theater on the BYU campus edited The Princess Bride.
Yes,
And took out the line about how there's a shortage of perfect breasts in the world. They bleeped that out for their conservative Mormon audience, and
Which was funny because they left in the son of a bitch line, which is also problematic by BYU standards. So apparently we could have that, but we could not talk about
well,
perfect breasts.
and when you consider that breast has more than one meaning, meaning the general area of your chest. The question is, well, which one did he mean? And let's be a little more generous about that. But BYU did not think that was a fun thing to do, so they just cut it out. And then people would shout the line anyway. So that was pretty fun.
There's no stopping the students.
So I got the math wrong. I found a better calculator. So I rounded 30.9 million up, which is the profit from 1987 to 2025. It's $84 million. Wow, that inflation is killing us. But so I would say
inflation sucks.
It earned double what it cost to produce. So I don't know why that's considered a failure. That's what I'm wrapping my head.
I don't know either. I just know that by the standards of the people who were involved, they were very concerned about the theatrical release and how it didn't do very
Yeah.
well. And it wasn't until it got the cult following that they really started making progress on getting people in to see it. And yeah.
Okay.
The other funny thing with it, it was considered a book that was incapable of being adapted to film until it finally got in the right hands.
Well, it was his book. It was
no,
his
that's
book.
what I'm saying. But the director
Yeah.
and the cast and crew, I'm saying the studios didn't want to make it.
Yeah.
Until, Christopher Golden was able to adapt it and Reiner was able to really breathe some life into
William
it. Get some
Goldman.
life backing.
William
No,
Goldman.
William Goldman.
Yeah.
I was thinking different one.
Yeah. Different gold name. Yeah.
Yes. But it spent 15 years, I want to say, in production hell, like trying to find the right home before they actually adapted it. And honestly, it's the best adaptation of a book to a film that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Having read the original and how he did it, and
And William Goldman was a screenwriter before he was a novelist, so it makes sense. But you look at his other screenplays, which are also very good, but they don't have the beauty of the Princess Bride adaptation. This Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It's a great movie, but it's not the Princess Bride.
So one of the cool things about The Princess Bride is it's quoted a lot, but one of the places it's quoted is in English classes because the famous "My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die" is quoted as the most perfect paragraph and introduction ever, to the point where we teach it in English
in
class
business school
because it has everything you need as succinctly as possible. So during the Miracle Max scene, got some trivia from Stabby's finding. Both Rob Renner and Carrie Elwes had to be removed from the set for laughing at Billy Crystal's improvised lines. A dummy of Wesley that Fezzik, which was Andre the Giant, had been carrying around, took Elwes' place on the table while him and Renner watched the filming on a closed circuit monitor outside of the closed set. I could see that happening. And then
Carrie actually fractured a rib in that scene laughing so hard.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And then Dread Pirate Roberts existed in real life. Bartholomew Roberts, also known as Black Bart, operated in the Caribbean in the early 18th century. Many consider him the most successful pirate of all time, which is kind of cool. Speaking of cool, we're going to show the trailer, and you guys can weigh in on what you think of it. So
okay.
Grandfather's here.
Can't you tell me I'm sick? He'll pinch my cheek. I hate that.
Maybe he won't.
Hey, how is this sickie? Huh? I brought you a special present.
What is it?
It was the book my father used to read to me when I was sick, and I used to read it to your father. And today, I'm going to read it to you.
It was a time when life didn't seem so complicated.
Marriage is what brings us together today.
What?
What?
I'm killing myself once we reach the honeymoon suite.
Wouldn't that be nice?
A courtly age of gentle conversation.
I will always come for you.
But how can you be sure?
This is true love.
Oh no. Is this a kissing book?
No. Actually, there was a lot of treachery, peril, and revenge.
Prepare to die.
Never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line.
There were affairs of state.
But I've got my country's 500th anniversary to plan, my wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, and Gilda to frame for it. I'm swamped.
And affairs of the heart.
My Wesley will always come for me.
Your Wesley is dead.
I've seen worse.
Bye-bye, boy. Have fun storming the castle.
It's more than turning. What's the difference? We've got him.
Think it'll work?
It would take a miracle.
Goodbye.
It's a story of love. A tale of adventure. It's as real as the feelings you feel.
I'm kissing again.
Someday you may not mind so much.
The Princess Bride. Not just your basic, average, everyday, ordinary, run-of-the-mill, ho-hum fairy tale.
Oh, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa, so bad.
That was really awful. What was
I've
up with
never
the
seen
music?
that before.
It was the 80s. That was the music.
Where's the mind bleach?
Yes.
Woo.
Oh man.
Thanks. I see why they didn't think it did well.
How about you give away the entire story in disjointed pieces that are all mixed up?
They just tried to
that's a
grab
plan.
quotables and stuff them all in there.
Well,
A better introduction of it is what the grandfather actually tells him. You know,
This is the second trailer after it started gaining some traction. The first trailer I wasn't able to find, so this wasn't the one that preceded the movie.
Okay.
But it was still aired in '87.
Okay.
Do you think they have a chance it'll take a miracle? That line gets quoted a lot in my family. Have fun storming the castle.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. It's got some good ones. Okay, so some more cool trivia. Carrie Elwes, I'm probably butchering that, and Mandy Patinkin performed all of their own stunt sword fighting after many hours of training.
Yep.
The priest presiding over the marriage was inspired by the famous Chicago rabbi who gave William Goldman the giggles because he had a speech impediment. I've actually known people that got married by priests that imitated that for the ceremony, that whole wedding scene, in character, costume, the whole 9 yards. And then although Christopher Guest plays as a count in the film, Count Rugen, in real life he is an actual baron, 5th Baron Hayden Guest of sailing in Essex in the peerage of the United Kingdom.
I did not know that.
Luckily we fought a war, so we don't have to care. Yeah. But Stabby's finding the trivia for us. All right, so you guys did not like the trailer. Is there anything other than the disjointed nature of it that you didn't like?
The music.
Well, the music.
Yeah. Soundtrack.
Voiceover.
The voiceover was lackluster. It was very unenthusiastic.
Yeah.
They need a movie trailer voice guy in a world.
Yeah.
No, just have Teri do it.
With him, yeah.
Exactly.
So, Teri, can you do the movie trailer voice girl or woman? Can you do that?
I could probably do that if I put my mind to it. If that's what you're... I don't know. I need to workshop it. Give me a script and I can work with... Give me something I can work with.
All right. We'll figure that out.
She needs motivation.
The Dread Pirate Roberts costume was modeled after the infamous vigilante Zorro. Thank you for that one, Stabby. Yeah. All right, so we've talked about the trailer. What did you guys think about the characters in the movie? Obviously, you got the Dread Pirate Roberts, Buttercup, Fred Savage in the background as the sick kiddo.
Is there any casting decision that they didn't just nail perfectly? I mean, the funny thing to me is that Wallace Shawn, who plays Vicini, was terrified the whole time that they were going to replace him because they didn't. He thought that they didn't think he was doing a good job. And I can't remember. Pittman, do you remember who he thought they wanted instead?
They originally wanted Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito, that's it. Yeah.
And Danny was busy doing something else, and Wallace heard that, and so he just got it in his own head that second choice for the part, he wasn't wanted on the crew. Also, given the fact that he is the worst person for the vast majority of the beginning of the film, and he dies pretty early. He thought they didn't care, but that's inconceivable because he's did a great job playing that part.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's just amazing.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The Andre the Giant one was the one I really liked. He was he did so well.
Oh.
Although there were some infamous stories about him on the set. So apparently during one of the fight scenes, he let out a quote 16-second fart that brought the production to a standstill. Nobody said anything except for the director, Rob Reiner, who asked, "Are you okay, Andre?" To which Andre replies, "I am now, boss."
You got to do it in the voice. You got to do it in the voice. I was fortunate enough to hear Carrie do this at a convention one time. Okay. He told that story because do you know when the infamous fart happened?
Was it the hilltop sword fight on the castle ruins?
No, it was when he was dead, mostly dead, and Andre was carrying him on his back.
Yeah.
So he got a front row seat to the show and the stench.
Oh, poor guy.
Afterwards, he was mostly dead again. after that.
Yeah.
But he said, he's like, Rob Reiner came up and was like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I am now, boss." He called Andre apparently called everybody
boss. Yeah,
Here's
he called
us.
everybody boss.
He was
Well,
a
and he was
sweetheart to
having-
Robin.
Yeah, he was. And he was having a lot of back problems by this point in his life because he is such a
Yeah.
large man and not only around, but he's very, very tall. And when you
Yeah.
carry that kind of weight, it does a number on your back. So
Plus-
there were a lot of places where they would have to break so that he could go lay down and things like that. And they had to
Yeah.
rig things. A lot of the
Yep.
rigging when he's carrying stuff
Yeah.
wasn't only so that he could so it looked like he was carrying people, but it was also to support his spine
Support his back,
so
yeah.
that he didn't have he was on drugs and all sorts of things just to get through because his back hurt. But
Cases and
he
cases
did
of
such a
beer.
great
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, I mean, he
lots of beer
also
and lots of wine.
the
Yep.
wrestling probably didn't help his
The
body
wrestling is
either.
what did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, wrestling doesn't help, and just being a large person, it's problematic anyway. But they said he was always, despite being in so much pain, that he was often so much better natured about it than anybody would have
yeah.
expected.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was a gentleman.
He's so
He was
sweet.
a true
Yeah.
sweetheart. Like,
So, do you guys have a favorite character in this movie?
Oh no.
no.
I mean, I love Billy
I'm wearing
Crystal.
the Dread Pirate Robert shirt, but you probably saw the Inigo
Yeah. Uh-huh.
fencing
Yeah.
school earlier.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah,
have
you
met
tried-
Terry Elways, and he is a true gentleman and a scholar. And I
Mhm.
was fortunate enough to get to hear him run through the lines because
Cool.
I do have a replica of the Sword of the Dread Pirate Roberts, which you may have seen in previous episodes shot in my studio. The plaque is signed by him. And I literally, one of the only starstruck moments I ever had was when he started talking and asking me what I wanted on the plaque. My brain, even though I can quote the entire movie, just poof, everything popped out. And
Yeah.
it got worse because he started running through them himself. So I got to hear Dread Pirate Roberts himself saying, "As you wish," to the pain, etc. We ended up with, "You seem a decent fellow." And I was like, "Yep, that right there." So I have a nice
good.
plaque on the wall that says, "You seem a decent fellow, Carrie Elways." Dread Pirate
Oh,
Roberts.
that's so
Nice.
That's awesome.
So here's a funny. I'm gonna keep throwing these out as Stabby finds them because she's hunting for the neat trivia. During the filming of some scenes, the weather became really cold for Robin Wright, Buttercup. Andre Renee Rosamoff helped her by placing one of his hands over her head, the Andre the Giant. His hands were so large that one would entirely cover the top of her head, keeping her warm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big man.
That takes earmuffs to a whole new level.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a great book Carrie put out a couple years ago. It's called As You Wish. It's got a lot of the behind the scenes stories from
And
from
the audiobook is what you need to get because he reads it himself and the book is great, but the narration by him is just, it's so much better. It was just an incredible experience. I loved it. That was one of my favorite books that I read that year, and very good. Very good.
I don't think I've ever read the book. I've seen the movie way too many times, but I'm gonna have to fix that. You said the audiobook is good?
The audiobook of Carrie Elwes reading As You Wish is the one you want to read. Yeah. Although if you have not read the Princess Bride book, you really should remedy that lack.
Yeah.
You just should. Sorry.
It is such a different book than the movie, but at the same time, like I said before, it's one of the perfect translations of book to film because he was able to rearrange all the important bits from the book and reassign it, like life is pain. Anyone who says different is trying to sell you something. Is not said by Dread Pirate Roberts in the book. It's actually said by Fezzik's mother. And you get the entire backstory between Fezzik and his family, and also between Inigo and the Six-Fingered Man and his father. And you see all of that stuff really developed. Stuff you just kind of hear secondhand in the movie.
And the frame story in the book is actually about the author and his father, and his father would read him the book, and so the author gets and this is all not true. None of this is true. He completely made it up.
Yep.
William Goldman has 2 daughters. He does not have a son. And when I learned that, I was horribly disappointed because I read that prologue a million times. I can't tell you why, but it was the book was in my high school drama teacher's office, and I would pick it up and I would just read the prologue, and it took me years before I actually read the rest of the book. But the prologue is all about how he seeks out this book for his son, and his son hates it because it turns out that the dad was editing it as it went because it was this terrible, boring book about politics and economics and all this other horrible stuff. And so the adapting it so that it's the grandfather reading to the grandson is really brilliant because you couldn't get everything that he did in that prologue. It would make no sense. There was too much. There was way too much. But it's like Pittman says, the adaptation is just perfect. It's incredible.
Well, it's the good parts version of what was supposed to be the good parts version. Not that the other wasn't good, but he did a really good job with deciding what things to cut out and what things to leave in and what things were the spirit of what he cut out. When I read the two, they have that very, very much the same spirit, but they are different. And I actually like the movie a little bit more. It's not by much, but it's definitely a little bit more for me because it's able to be tighter.
Yeah.
And so when I want to just be in that rollicking adventure, it is tighter. Having some of the backstory cut out and just mentioned does mean that you get right into the story. And we tried reading it with my daughter who's 12. And the book for her does move just a little bit slow versus the movie, which she loved. So you can kind of see it. It's just that difference of that extra backstory versus getting right into the story, and it's immediately, what do you mean he's dead? How does this work? We're asking the same question the grandson is of, they're in love and now he's dead and now things are happening, and so I love that framing of the grandfather story really does bring you in as the kid everyman to listen to this story. And it's so reminiscent of hearing stories from friends and parents and anyone who was telling you stories in your life.
There's one major change I always found hilarious. It when I first read the book, because I'd watched the movie many, many times before I'd ever read the book. The change in Prince Humperdinck. In the book, he is this big burly hunter, like he's Buttercup says at the beginning. And then you show Chris Sarandon playing Humperdinck, and it's like, wait a second. So the giant bald guy who hunts everything is not in this, and now we have this kind of
Goofy,
weird uppity yuppie prince who it actually fits the role better, I think, until you get to the whole tracking and the dungeon part, which they just shifted that to more be Ruger anyway. So it was interesting to see how they made that casting work.
Well, and I read the book way before I saw the movie, and to me they're completely different experiences. So I'm not going to put one over the other because there are things I love about the book that don't make it into the movie, and there are things that they did with the movie that I prefer. So it's really two different experiences. And one of my favorite reads, though, is the anniversary edition. I want to say the 35th anniversary edition, and it's got a whole epilogue about, again, William Goldman completely making crap up. About the filming of the movie and the going to Florin, where the history is of, because Florin is a real country in this fantasy that he has, and it's just it's such a charming addition to the book. That's one of my favorite parts of the one of the few times that I will buy another copy of the book because of the extra material, and the extra material was definitely worth it. It was so good.
That's something they've done a lot with this project. The film and the book. I think I have the same one you're talking about. It's got blue dust jacket and has the illustrations in it, and that was great. That was definitely
Yes.
definitely worth the extra.
Mhm.
And also, I have, I think I want to say the 20th anniversary film, the 25th, the 30th Blu-ray, etc., etc. And I also did the Fathom event.
Oh,
where
right.
They rescreened it, and they had Rob
Yeah.
Reiner and Rob Reiner doing commentary before the film with Mandy Patinkin, I think. I don't know if Carrie was there or not,
cool.
but
That's
it
really
was
cool.
it was great. Like, it's surprising just how much more keeps coming out about the surroundings of this film and the book, and like it just keeps on giving.
And none of it is bad. None of it is
Yeah, none of
terrible.
it's
You don't get stories about how awful the people were to each other on the set, and it's just everything you get is charming, and I love that.
Yeah, if the worst thing that happens on the film set is Wallace Shawn feels slightly inadequate and gets in his own head, that's a great freaking working environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I think some of the points that all of you brought up about. Go ahead.
I was going to say, in 2016, the film was inducted into the National Film Registry, being deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And it is mandatory reading for high school students in the state of Nevada.
Go Nevada.
As it should be.
Yeah.
And so
It's also one of several films that convinced those of us who grew up in the 80s that quicksand was going to be a lot more of a problem than it ever turned out to be.
That's absolutely true.
And there were lots of films in the 80s that quicksand was a thing, and this was one of those that...
Yeah.
So this is the official movie. This is the official movie poster when it originally released, which is obviously on some of the editions for the film. What do you guys think of the movie poster as the getting people into the theater? For me, it doesn't.
People into the theater.
Yeah.
They were trying to preserve some of the mystery, which we were talking about on that second trailer. They just gave the whole thing away.
Right.
I think part of the problem was they had no clue how to market this.
Right.
So they were trying the whole grandfatherly with a sick kid, but there's this world of imagination thing going on. But it just wasn't enough to sell it. So they course corrected the opposite way, I think. And I mean, really, how do you describe a film like Princess Bride? Seriously.
Yeah, I sympathize with their marketing problems.
With great difficulty.
Yeah, same here. I have an entire conspiracy board about Felix trying to explain it to people.
So does anybody else have thoughts they want to weigh in? Because for me, it doesn't do it. It doesn't really kind of convey the feeling of the movie.
It's pretty.
It is. It's stunning.
No, it does.
But it's not.
Yeah, it conveys fantasy, but it doesn't really touch on the kind of fantasy that is actually in the movie.
Okay. Well, so obviously people liked the characters. What did you guys think of the filmography? The way they actually made like the scenes together, the way it flowed.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
In the setting.
I love it because it is actually a theatrical take on cinematography. You had like I always go to like the sword fight on top of the Cliffs of Insanity because it is straight up theater staging, but because it's shot on a soundstage and it's very obviously theatrical, but they shot it cinematically and then cut in all the B-roll of the cliffs and everything surrounding it. So it was just a nice blend of using like real world elements and keeping that theatrical storybook feel about it. I always think it adds to the unique charm of it. Because is it great like practical effects wise? No. But Carrie and Mandy spent 4 months rehearsing that entire sword fight to the point where they got fast enough they had to slow it down so people could see what was actually happening on film.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
Well, and because of the look they gave it, it ages well. Because, even people could say the ROUSs look clunky and whatever, but they look like a storybook. And so it doesn't get that comparison of saying, well, of course, with CGI, we could make them look big and scary and all this. And it's like, but that wasn't the point, because our hero was going to defeat them, and having it be clunky and almost cartoony, not quite, but almost cartoony. That was part of that storybook feel. And so I think that's part of the charm of it, is that it ages really well. My daughter did not look at it and immediately go, okay, this is stupid looking as to be compared with whatever. When they put out the new editions, they don't usually go back in and go, oh, we just have to reskin this whole CGI, or we need to add this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
It's brightening up colors. It's adding commentary. It's things like that. But they're not really messing with the film itself. They didn't need to. It aged just fine.
Yeah.
So Teri, you were mentioning something in the chat. Do you want to cover that real quick about the short?
So at least according to my husband, when I rewatched this for research purposes, all on that clifftop fight scene, all of the fighting forms that they mention, which I'm not going to try to rattle off because I can't, are actual fighting forms in fencing.
They are. Yeah. HEMA goes through them all when you do the training.
Yeah.
For European martial arts, they go through them all. It is a real form, and I believe the sword masters that trained them were the same ones that did Star Wars and a lot of the Errol Flynn way back in the day.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the people that
sense.
know. They have the epitome of the talent training.
And at least according to him, they actually use this in like fighting schools. Like it's part of that curriculum. Kind of like this is required in English.
Yeah.
The
this depiction of it.
And like most young boys who watched this in the 80s, I did try to recreate some of those fight scenes with sticks. Much to my mother's consternation.
As you do.
As one does. So the original ad copy, Stabby found it. So this is the original 1987 ad copy. Look out, FBI, she's coming for your jobs. So The Princess Bride is a 1987 American fantasy adventure comedy film that tells the story of a swashbuckling farmhand named Wesley, accompanied by companions befriended along the way, who must rescue his true love, Princess Buttercup, from the odious Prince Humperdinck.
Okay.
Say that one 3 times fast. But I do think, I mean,
Humperdinck.
No, I'm just saying the whole thing, but I don't know, it does kind of get the point across, but almost too clinical.
Yeah,
it's very clinical.
But at least it's not, it could be a lot worse. It's still, I still keep coming back to, how are you going to sell this? How would you actually be able to sell this without, short of showing people the movie and saying, go out and tell your friends? What are you going to write to really convey what the movie is? So I think the ad copy is always going to come up short.
Yeah.
Though I think there's actually ad copy in the movie that would work. And then that's from the grandfather in the very beginning. I had to put it in the chat so I can read it. But it's the whole, this is the book I used to read to your father, and now I'm going to read it to you. And the kid asks, has it got any sports in it? And here's the line that to me is the ad copy. Are you kidding? Fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, miracles. And the kid says, doesn't sound too bad. I'll try to stay awake. And for me, that's actually really good ad copy for what is this movie about? It's about the interaction between a grandfather and his grandson. And in the middle, it's fencing, fighting, tortures, revenge, giants, monsters, chase, escapes, true loves, and miracles. They put great ad copy in here. I would want to watch a movie that has all of those things. So that's my favorite ad copy from it, is the actual lines from the movie of when the kid wants to know what the book's about. That's the movie.
Especially read by Peter Falk.
Yeah. And they kind of use that in that second trailer that, that we showed a little minute ago, where the two are talking, and it didn't work there.
Yeah. Well, because I think it had the music and the other weirdness around it.
Yeah, there was too much other weird stuff by the time they got to that.
Because I agree that's really good ad copy, but they didn't use it right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So used well, they did have good ad copy for it.
They just didn't use it well.
Yeah.
So do you think, I mean, obviously this is dependent on books and stuff. So this is in a hypothetical dream world where all things are possible. You think this is the kind of movie that needs a sequel, or should it forever stand alone?
No.
Standalone.
In
Don't
the
even remake
later
it. Leave it alone.
in the later edition, the like the anniversary edition, there's a chapter from the sequel, Buttercup's Baby, and it's really fun. It's really good, but you can see that it's not going to go anywhere. And how much of it is William Goldman trolling us, and how much of it was he genuinely tried to write it, I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't think this needs a sequel.
You
I think
can't do a
it's great.
sequel. The only thing I've seen, the only idea that I'm even slightly on board with is a in name only remake where Fred Savage takes on the Peter Falk role and he's reading to his kid and he makes up an entirely new story in the same vein. The same way that his has been done in his family. You know, Peter Falk made this whole thing up, just flipping pages. You know, that supposedly. This is just
so
a
it's a
story.
sequel. It's a sequel, but not really a sequel.
Right.
It's inspired by.
It's a spiritual sequel.
That's interesting.
The other
Just have to
suggestion
have
I've
Fred Savage
seen
do it.
that I would get behind does have Fred Savage doing the reading, but then the suggestion, and this would be hysterical, would be if all the parts were played by Muppets. Because Miss Piggy is Buttercup and Kermit the Frog as the Red Pirate Wesley, and I would watch that remake. I would watch the heck out of that because it would be really, really funny.
It would.
But I don't think that has ever floated except on the internet where people make it into a meme, because we do realize that that would be one of the few ways we would accept seeing it again. But I don't know that you could ever find the chemistry that they got there, the writing, all those things came together in such a way, trying to add more to it. I think destroy a lot of what's about it.
There was one that got the chemistry right. And it was the ad hoc, all of the board celebrities during lockdown cosplaying and doing it in clips. Just running through lines and everybody strung it together. That was hilarious.
Funny. That's
Very
really
well
funny.
done. And you had the original cast interspersed in with doing different parts too.
Oh, cool.
Interesting. I don't think I caught that, but
I saw it. That was one of the most prominent things on my doom scrolling at the time.
Okay. So no remakes either. I know Teri has already weighed in with a big negativity.
No remake.
Okay. Is there anybody you would have swapped out acting choices from the era?
No.
No, I think we've really mentioned that they really made good casting decisions that came together in a great way. And it was kind of nice not having uber famous faces, because that meant there wasn't anyone that you looked at because this is the insert big name guy. It was all people that were medium or no names, except for Billy Crystal. But he was, given the type of part he was playing, it means that every part was important, even the ones we don't see for very long. Humperdinck's parents are hysterical for all that we only see them in these funny little bits and pieces, and yet they're very important to how the story works. Because when she says, "I'm going to kill myself," and he goes, "Won't that be nice?" and you're just like, no. And so
he's like,
even the
she
big parts
kissed
were
me.
really important.
She kissed me. Did you see that? She kissed me. That's one I actually threw in as an homage in one of the Felix books. One of the older guys. Oh, she kissed me. She kissed me. Roger.
They weren't the original cast that they were wanting initially, though. Just throwing it out there. Christopher Reeves was supposed to play Wesley in their first, when they first were testing actors for the parts. They wanted Christopher Reeves for Wesley, and Carrie Fisher or Uma Thurman for Buttercup. But they decided that although Uma Thurman does have a princess look to her, she wasn't quite right for Buttercup because she didn't. She was almost too independent.
Too pretty.
Yeah. And they chose well.
Yeah.
They chose well getting an unknown for Buttercup, I think. Introducing someone brand new.
And I think it was only like Carrie's second movie.
Did these actors and actresses go on to do other stuff?
Like Laureate or anything like that.
Did these actors and actresses go on to do other things? I don't tend to follow like the
Well, Robin Wright has a resurgence of her career lately. She kind of stepped back to raise a family, and so now she's been in Wonder Woman. She's been in Blade Runner. What is
House
the
of
number?
Cards.
Yeah. So she's really come back.
House of Cards was her like comeback, and then she got all the movie roles.
Yeah,
she's got a lot of independent films and things. But yeah, she was off the scene for a while doing indies and raising a family. Carrie Elways has not suffered for work at all in any year.
Yeah.
Wallace Shawn, of course, we still know his name. Mostly in voices. Andre unfortunately has passed. Mandy Patinkin. Everybody associated with this film has, if they survived, has gone on to do. They have not hurt for work.
Yeah. They've stayed busy.
Nothing really huge, but in every case, people that you watch what they're doing now, and you're just happy for them because this association, it's like you say, they're not hurting for work. They're doing really well.
The funny thing is, so I did not recognize Mandy Patinkin. I never associated with him as Inigo Montoya because of the hair and he was so skinny at the time. And when I was watching him in the 90s on that one of the doctor shows, and then Criminal Minds, he was a bigger guy, and he did not look his face changed so much that you do not associate him with Inigo Montoya.
It took me a long time to figure out that the guy in Criminal Minds was Inigo Montoya. I was like, what?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Well, I remembered his name because his name is so distinctive, and so that was the thing I followed was, it's Mandy Patinkin. I need to take a look at this.
Yeah, I was young enough I didn't associate the actors' names. I knew them as their characters.
Right.
That's how I still am. I figure if I know who they are as people and not their character, they do a good job because they're supposed to pretend they're someone else.
Yeah.
Sure.
Him and his wife have a TikTok. They are absolutely the sweetest people. And if you follow them, you get to see them go and meet people who Inigo has changed their lives. He goes around the country and meets them. And it's the sweetest TikTok page I have ever witnessed. It comes across every now and then, and I'm just sitting there.
That's so sweet.
Similar vein. Not Mandy Patinkin, but Carrie. Like I said, when I got to meet him, I was at a Comic-Con, and I was second in line because I had the VIP pass, etc., whatever. And I beelined it as soon as the doors opened. There's one woman beat me there, and I am forever glad she did because I got to talk to her, and she was one of the type of people for who this movie was life-changing. Like, it helped her through the dark time, etc., etc. And so she was first up. I would have given her first spot if I'd been first and heard the story. But Carrie was such a gracious gentleman. He spent 20 minutes with her, talking to her, hugging, crying, listening to everything, making sure everything was going to be okay. But that's just to see that from these actors in person. It was such a, just a sweet, warming moment. Like, you're like, okay, these people are cool. I will continue supporting this, obvious by my wardrobe and the few dozen shirts I have and the props and etc. And the constant quotes and the references. Yeah. I think everybody involved in this whole project is just a genuinely good human being.
Yeah.
Okay. Any cool facts or closing thoughts anybody wants?
Okay. So I was watching for it this time when I rewatched the movie, and in the As You Wish book, Carrie Elwes talks about how Count Rugen knocked him unconscious. Really.
Yep.
When he hits him on the head at the end there, he says, you're the six-fingered man, and so Rugen hits him, and he was actually unconscious for that.
Yeah,
and so I was watching for it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he really is. He really did knock him out. And he said, do it, hit me hard, and he did, and it's it sells it. I mean, because he genuinely was unconscious. But
yeah, that look on his face going slack was real.
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite stories from his experience. I liked that. I don't know. It's terrible, but it just made me laugh.
Okay. Closing thoughts, Teri?
Oh, this is probably one of the better, like, kind of light fantasy movies that I've seen, like, ever, from the 80s, from the 90s, whatever. It's just got that right balance of lightheartedness with these darker things that happen. And just the fact that they were able to balance all that out so perfectly just makes it amazing.
Okay. Stabby, I know you got to bounce, so go get that blood sugar fix. Hypo whatever.
Glycemia.
Yes, hypoglycemia. Go eat stuff. Go
eat stuff. We appreciate you coming on.
Bye.
Closing thoughts, Jana?
I think one of my very favorite things about this movie, and it's why I enjoy watching it with my daughter and with my friends and with my husband, that kind of stuff, is that all of the relationships are about love in different ways. You have epic friendships. You have even sometimes the respectful enemy thing going on. You have Valerie and Max, who have obviously been together forever because the way they get onto each other is the way that only an old married couple can. You have the true love of Wesley and Buttercup, and then you have the family where you've got the grandfather and the son, and even the mom, for all that we hardly see her. There's sandwiches that show up for them at some point. There's things that happen that you know that she is coming in and checking on them and interacting with them the entire way. And so the whole movie is about all these different versions of true love. And I love that. It's part of what makes it so heartwarming, because it's all of those different ways that relationships and that love works. And I think that's something we really enjoy getting out of our fantasy, is that it's not grim dark. It's not any of those things. It's hopeful and it's loving. And in the end, you know, true love wins out, and they do get to ride off into the sunset. And who doesn't want to do that?
Okay.
That end. I know the book end doesn't have that, but...
That is correct.
I'll just sum it up by saying there's a terrible shortage of perfect movies in the world, and you should go watch this one.
Totally.
All right. So be sure to weigh in, dear listener, dear viewer at home. Tell us what you thought. Join us in the comments. Join us on the Discord, the Facebook group, wherever. And we'd love to hear what you think. So, Pittman, what are you working on? Well, this summer when this airs, and which will, where can we find you?
All right. You can find me at halfacrepond.com or on the socials at JE Pittman Writes on the Facebook, and all the others at j.e.pittman. Currently working on, spinoff series of Felix. Saint Germain Letters, follow my Immortal Alchemist character. I also just got in the swanky hardbacks of Felix.
Nice.
That'll be available this summer. Saint Germain should start releasing this summer, I hope, once I finish it. Meanwhile, just look up the conspiracy board, see all the little Easter eggs, and that's pretty much what I got going. I'm focusing on Felix right now. Pandora will pick up when I get it. Hopefully soon. And that's what I got.
All right. Teri, what are you working on future you? So this is going to air in February, March, April, May.
Future me. There's a couple audiobook projects that I've been threatened with. So I'll likely be working on one of those with somebody yet to be determined. Currently, at this recording time, working on my third book. I'm really hoping to have that done and working on something new come May. Haven't decided what that is. Either urban fantasy or sword and sorcery. Haven't decided.
Will war hamsters be involved?
You know, if it's the urban fantasy, it would be, fae beings in Boston. There could be some, hamsters with hammers. That could be fun.
Okay.
Or at the very least, rats.
Ooh, were rats.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Rats.
Yes.
in Boston.
Yeah, have you seen the rats out there? They're huge.
I've seen the
They've got to
rats
be
from
involved
the-
in that world somewhere.
I've seen the rats in the New York City subway. I've seen pictures of them. You could almost put a saddle on those things and ride them into battle.
Hey, they're hardworking rats trying to provide for their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sons.
That's right.
That's
true.
Uh-huh.
All right, Melissa, what is future you going to be working on, and then how can we stalk you? Wait,
well,
Teri, did you say how we can find you?
Oh, no. I'm usually on the Book of Faces. You just have to dig a little bit. Have to cut back a little bit to reduce doom scrolling, but that's okay.
All right. Now, Melissa, what will future you be writing, and then how can we stalk future you?
Okay, we'll still be wrapping up the War Master series, I hope, and seeing what comes next. We're almost at the end of the original series, and maybe we're looking at a sequel series. That would be fun. My website is melissamcshanewrites.com, and my storefront is at nightharborpress.com. And you can find me on Facebook and on X as M. McShane Writes. And that's about it. Yeah.
All right. Are you going to name one of your main characters Buttercup?
Only if it's a war hamster.
Okay.
It'll be a war
Robin
hamster named
Buttercup.
Buttercup. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Last name Buttercup, first name Robin.
Love it.
That's right.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Jena or Jana, whoever's writing. What will future you be writing? And then how can we stalk future you?
Future me, hopefully by then we will be either really close to the end of the first reboot book, The Doorway to the Divine, either done or really, really close. So we're trucking right along on that. That is military lit RPG, and it's very fun. We're having a good time. JR is very good at exploding all the things. All the things. There's dire bunnies. He fights a dire bunny, guys. So you know, there's a thing that you can know about the book. So probably that, and hopefully there's an urban fantasy that I'm working on, and hopefully it will be closing in on done by then, because should have been done before then, and then life has been busy. And I can be found over on opalkingdompress.com and under Jena Rey or Jena Rey author on all the things. And yeah, that'll just about cover it. If you're a writer and you're writing short stories, I have 2 anthology calls that'll happen this year. The Phoenix's one will be closed by May, and then somewhere in June or July, I will be opening a second one on Griffins.
Nice. And we've had several hour here and an hour there conversations on trying to make what works in game and what works in reality when you're doing all the things. It has been an interesting learning experience for me. So... because sometimes the game world stuff doesn't match up to reality when it comes to firefights with bad guys.
Sometimes it doesn't, and also having to convince him that you cannot have level 1 characters fighting banshees because they will just, their brains will explode. And say, but it'd be cool. It's like, yes, it would be, but if we have to put stats in here, their brains will explode. So we have interesting conversations on this.
I made the mistake of having one of those conversations on the cell phone with you while I was sitting in a restaurant, working. And people started giving me funny looks. I'm just like,
yeah.
Don't worry, my I Love Me jacket's at home. I've got the straight jacket for later. We're good. So, all right. And you can find us, dear listener, on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree / Blasters and Blades podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChutes, the Rumbles, the YouTube, the TikToks, the Twitters, Spotify, Discord, Facebook group, and Facebook page. We have our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. Save the shenanigans from Adam Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. And if you are one of those flat earthers sending me all that hate mail because of that conversation with that poor Australian lady, send it to Stabby instead. She wants to make you laugh and cry and think about your life choices. But you can also support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it's for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee till they swim away on a river of Java goodness. And if you use the code PODCASTGRUNTS, the link is in the show notes. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's a win-win. It is not a drop shipping operation, people. No, that coffee is roasted in the continental United States and ships all the places that you cool people might want to be. And if it doesn't ship to you, that's just not where cool people are, I guess, and you should move.
But does it ship to Florin or Gilder?
Oh, we ought to fix that.
Heavy taxes. Heavy taxes. They
Must be
won't let
those
it in.
foreign tariffs against our
Yeah.
And because I was remiss and I didn't tell you, this is the part where I remind you, dear listener, dear viewer at home, to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books, so do your part, especially if you're reading any of our fine panelists' books and creations. Go write the reviews, tell them how awesome they are. If you're listening to Teri on the audiobook, say she has the voice of angels and give her 5 stars. She more than earned it. And she also gets people looking at her funny when she does the voices. So, help us.
Oh, yes, it's a problem.
She's got to pay the lawyers to stay out of the funny farm. She needs your help, people. We need that Sarah McLachlan music playing in the background for this bit. You know what I mean?
The ASPCA.
Yeah. The copyrights are a thing, and I don't want to get sued.
Yeah.
And for jail, so we're just gonna have to move on. And this is where I tell you, dear listener, thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, and we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And with that, we're going to hit the end button. Wade,